And, of course, you know if it's Wednesday and it is 7:37, then it's time to talk to KT McFarland, Fox News National Security Analyst. Good morning, KT.
Good morning, guys.
Well, I have to say, I was worried when I got up this morning about Libya, but then I was comforted to see that the Obama administration is going to talk this over in the UN Security Council with Russia and China, with systems, of course, not all that different from Gaddafi's, and we'll probably get some kind of resolution condemning force. So I guess problem solved, right?
Yeah, right, wagging their fingers. Meanwhile, we have 600 U.S. citizens in Libya that we can't get out, plus 5,000 dual citizens that we can't get out. I just keep thinking of what Reagan did in Grenada when they took our students hostage, our medical students hostage. He went in and he got them out. I also think of Jimmy Carter when they took our embassy employees hostage, and Jimmy Carter was unable to get them out. Now, the U.S. in Libya are not hostages by any means yet, but we need to get them out because that's starting to get messy. Gaddafi is sending his goons door to door with machetes looking for enemies. Libya has devolved into a civil war, and it's only going to get worse. We've got to get the Americans out now.
Absent some kind of response from the United States, because I think what we see is what we get right now. What do you see as the future of Libya? Prolonged civil war or a crackdown by Gaddafi where he reinstates himself as the supreme head, or would there be another government that would take over, and if so, what would it be?
The problem in Libya is, unlike the other countries we've seen, Tunisia and Egypt, there's no alternative. He's very successfully over the last 40 years gotten rid of any individual or institution that might challenge his dictatorship. So as a result, Clan Gaddafi goes, and there's nothing. There's no military to take over. There's no strong police force. There's no opposition. I mean, there's the Muslim Brotherhood and the extremists, but even they are not as well organized as anybody would need to be to take over. So I think you see Libya descend into chaos. I don't think Gaddafi goes anywhere. He's going to fight as to the last drop of blood because he knows if he leaves, the international criminal courts will go after him like they did with Milosevic. So he stays. I think that the Libyans at this point want to see him hung upside down from a yardarm.
Is it conceivable that he could essentially barricade himself into Tripoli, where his headquarters are, and essentially let the rest of the country resolve itself into chaos? Because I know Benghazi and Tobruk and other places like that are now really falling away from his regime. But he could essentially fortify himself in the capital and stay there forever, right?
Yeah, and fight off anybody that came near him. Absolutely. How long he lasts, it's uncertain, because at this point, most of the army is fractured. A lot of his diplomats have left. His cabinet are leaving, deserting him. And so I think it descends more into civil war everywhere. And so how does that affect us? Yet another North African country that's a mess. Mm-hmm. Well, it's because of the oil. The oil is in eastern Libya. That's where he no longer controls eastern Libya, apparently, in the last 2 days. And that borders on Egypt. So if eastern Libya falls into the hands of extremists and jihadists and Islamists and Muslim Brotherhood, they're going to export that revolution over to Egypt. And then you worry that then Egypt falls. I mean, I think that we need to step back and say, what's our strategic interest in this whole region, North Africa, Middle East, and Gulf? We want a couple of things. We want us. And I don't think that, and every country there will have a different way that we need to deal with them. Mm-hmm. But I think right now we're reacting to events, and we're sitting on our hands, and while we're busy trying people back into Egypt, and they're already organized.
Yeah, Yusuf Qaradawi.
Speaking of Egypt, we always said that a good thing about Egypt is we have a good relationship with the military. The military controls the Suez Canal, and then we see two Iranian Navy ships passing through the Suez Canal for the first time since the 70s. What do you make of that? Is that a foreshadowing of bad things to come?
Look, the whole region is in play, and we've got to figure out a way that we don't lose the whole region. And right now, what we're doing is we're constantly reacting to events and reacting in a very pussyfooty kind of way. What the Iranians are doing is a couple of things. Remember, they're on Iran astrides the Strait of Hormuz, a major choke point of oil coming out of the Gulf region. The Suez Canal, which they're now, as you point out, sailing through, they're trying to show you that the two choke points in that region, they play in. They have a navy that can be in both of those areas, potentially sabotaging the free flow of commerce and oil. What they're also doing is surrounding Israel, because they're going to go through the Suez Canal, above Israel, over to Syria. And they're trying to show Israel and the United States, you guys make a move, and we may challenge Israel. And I think the other thing they're doing is showing the world, you guys make a move against us, and us cracking down on our demonstrators, and that we're going to cause problems elsewhere.
You know, it's interesting. This conversation with you coming about an hour after we talked with Bill Cowan, our military advisor, and he'd just come back from Iraq, and he said, I can't tell you how distressed I am that it looks like the Iranian influences are beginning to fill the vacuum that, of course, we're creating by leaving. Now, if they're in the north, and as you just pointed out, the Muslim Brotherhood is now strategically placed in Egypt right next to the Libyan oil fields, it seems to me they hold every card in this deck right now.
No. I mean, this is the problem. We can't just wring our hands. You know, the stakes are too high, and we can't just say, oh, it's all lost, what should we do? We have a role to play in every one of these countries. In some countries, it'll be, let's go help them write a constitution and set up free elections. We know how to do that. We've got the democracy. You know, as you point out, Fred, the International Republican Institute for Democracy.
And the National Democratic Institute.
Democratic Institute, National Endowment for Democracy. We have all the NGOs and the U.S. government groups that know how to go in and not tell them how to vote or who they should support, but give them the tools they need to govern themselves. That's what we might do in Egypt. In Libya, eastern Libya right now doesn't have hospital supplies. We can do that sort of thing. Egypt right now is going to start starving. They're the world's largest importer of wheat. Look at the world commodity prices. The price of wheat's going through the roof.
Sure.
We can help them with that. Other countries, Iran is having a protest movement that we have refused to even support verbally. The Iranian government shuts down the Internet. Did anybody see that movie Pirate Radio? Where a ship went off of Great Britain to pipe in rock tunes in Britain in the 1960s.
Yeah.
We need pirate internet. We need to have U.S. The ability to have to replace the stuff that the Iranians are shutting down.
Put up hotspots throughout.
Throughout the region, which we can do offshore. There is a role we have to play in every one of these countries, and we need to get out and start playing it. Sometimes it's a covert role.
Okay.
This is not we don't want to send in the Marines. We don't want to tell these people what to do. We don't want to have made in America stamped all over it, but we need to give them the tools because, believe me, the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda and the organized Islam, they're all over it. They're already there.
Thank you, KT, as always. We appreciate